breaking down Donald Trump's Thanksgiving posts. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe. Today, what I'm going to do is, first of all, happy belated Thanksgiving. At the end of the day, Donald Trump celebrates Thanksgiving by posting on Truth Social a series of messages that sort of shape his Thanksgiving message to the American people. So what I'm going to do is break it down. In the first Truth Social post, he puts a picture of an overcrowded American aircraft plane, civilian aircraft. No, it was a military aircraft that was full of Afghan refugees. That story of mid-August 2021, when President Biden withdrew American troops from Afghanistan. Just a side note, Donald Trump wants the Bagram Air Base back. We don't know where we are on that exactly, but a few months ago he talked about taking back the Bagram Air Base, which he negotiated away to the Taliban. So he says, horrendous airlift from Afghanistan, hundreds of thousands of people poured into our country totally unvetted and unchecked. We will fix it, but we'll never forget what crooked Joe Biden and his thugs did to our country. That is a lie. The truth is this. Donald Trump negotiated the Afghanistan withdrawal. He put a timeline on it to withdraw in March of 2021, but Biden was able to push that to August. Donald Trump also negotiated with the Taliban and not Afghanistan's democratically elected government, and forced the government to release thousands of Taliban fighters before the Taliban took over Kabul. Then, after Donald Trump lost and the withdrawal fell on Biden, President Biden postponed it as far as he could and then withdrew the troops based on a deal Donald Trump made with the Taliban. 13 American service members died during the withdrawal because of a terrorist bombing near the withdrawal processing area. Biden then started a political asylum system for Afghan refugees who would most certainly be killed under the Taliban regime because they had helped American troops and the American cause in Afghanistan, and they were anti-Taliban. The shooter who killed Sarah Beckstrom, the National Guardsman, who was one of the two, the other one is, I believe, Andrew Wolf, and he's fighting for his life. This shooter, Lakanwal, happened to be one of those people who helped the American government, the CIA, in Afghanistan. So while he was allowed into America as an asylum seeker during Biden's administration, his asylum status was renewed by Donald Trump's regime in April of 2025. So other than Lakanwal, there have been no other known incidents of Afghan immigrants or refugees perpetrating crimes in America. In the second post, Donald Trump goes on to say, a very happy Thanksgiving to all of our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. Mind you, this is a dog whistle. This is a dog whistle. Dog whistle alert. A rant that begins the disinformation narrative, preparing his flock for the incoming messages. So that was a dog whistle. We're going after immigration here. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people, census, we don't know that, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. We don't know that either, nor do we clearly know whether Donald Trump still understands that asylum seekers are not people coming from mental asylums, but they are political refugees. And Donald Trump has made similar claims in the past, but never has his numbers and fact checkers and numbers matched up, and fact checkers have refuted him on how undocumented migrants do not get welfare, and if talking about legal immigrants and green card holders and naturalized citizens getting benefits, then they are entitled to those benefits as the law provides. And if there's any lag in the law, then the Social Security laws and the Medicaid laws and the SNAP laws should be reformed and not gutted indiscriminately, which is what Donald Trump is doing. He continues, they and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. I don't know if the numbers are true on that or not, but a mass majority of immigrants and then their children that I know of are all high, upper, middle class citizens and green card holders. And even if they are not, I don't know of many immigrant families being part of the Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP programs. It may be true, but the numbers that Donald Trump is coming out with are not backed by facts. This is an anti-immigration rant that is a dog whistle that alerts Donald's stand back and stand by army to start creating mayhem and joining Donald Trump's DHS army and become DHS auxiliaries and target non-white communities, whether they be Latin American or Asian or South American or South Asian and South Asia American, African or Central American. Expect xenophobia and attacks on these communities by members of white nationalist groups because of these posts. Then he goes on, the real migrant population is much higher. This refugee burden is the lead cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. Failed schools, high crimes, urban decay, overcrowded hospitals, housing shortages, and large deficits. These are all things Donald Trump is warning about that's coming because of his domestic policies. Donald Trump here is blaming all of America's problems on immigrants. This echoes of how Hitler blamed all of Germany's problems on Jewish people. Dictators and authoritarians find scapegoats for their failures and attack those scapegoats and vilify them while carrying out their fascist agendas. Remember, over 100 people have been murdered by Donald's current regime between boat attacks and DHS detentions. And remember that experts project that Donald Trump's dismantling of U.S. aid has killed 600,000 people worldwide, most of them children. For somebody like this, who continues to threaten democracy, deprives people of American rights, and sabotages America's economy from within, scapegoating and then targeting vilified population is the natural step before going full fascist. When the economy begins crashing, Donald's authoritarian state will target immigrant communities nationwide. They will go after peaceful protesters and start detaining a lot more undocumented immigrants, legal immigrants, green card holders, and even American citizens. They're already doing it. And in this post, as I will read out to you soon, he goes after naturalized citizens. He continues, as an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets. Somalian gangs are not roving the streets. Donald Trump's federal agents, according to multiple court filings, are roving the streets in these roving patrols. Then Donald goes, they're roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, it's just unconscionable that he would use language like this, Tim Walz, attacking political opponents in the nastiest way possible, the President of the United States, during a Thanksgiving post in 2025. That's where we are. He's saying that Walz does nothing either through fear, incompetence, or both, while the worst congresswoman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, anti-Muslim trope, and who probably came into the United States illegally in that you're not allowed to marry your brother. Disgusting allegation. Again, Muslim trope, stereotype, wrong. Does nothing but hatefully complain about our country. Its constitution and how badly she is treated when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation. More xenophobia here, which essentially not even a country for lack of government, military, police, etc., blah, blah, blah. Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded because gains in living conditions for many. That's keeping up with this, building on this anti-immigrant narrative. He then goes on to say, I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow U.S. system to fully recover. Well, permanent implies people from these countries won't ever be able to enter the U.S. again. It reeks of echoes of like the Chinese Exclusion Act, Japanese internment, and obviously those were rescinded, but we are again stepping into that economy. That economy because of his migrant policies, but we're into that sort of mentality of being xenophobic and anti-immigrant. And he says that he'll, until the system fully recovers, terminate all of the million Biden illegal admissions. Reminder that the shooter of Sarah Beckstrom was legally in the United States and that status was renewed by Donald Trump's presidency in April 2025. Then he goes, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anybody who is not a net asset to the United States. Remove anyone? Anyone? Who decides what is a net asset? Who determines that? What arbitrary and capricious standard does the government come up with to determine that? Or is incapable of loving our country and end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country? Again, undocumented immigrants don't get benefits, and if they're legally in the U.S. paying into the system, then they should be able to get the benefits that they are owed. And he says, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility. This is a big red flag. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is threatening to take away citizenship from Americans who are naturalized. This is by far the most extreme immigration policy that, if implemented, would create so much chaos both in and out of the courts across the country that America would be blinded and distracted from seeing its own crumbling infrastructure, skyrocketing cost of living, and domestic police state. Americans will become fully exhausted and give up on caring about the republic and other people's rights because they'll be worrying about their own well-being, putting food on the table or paying the electric bill or paying medical bills that never go away. And then he says, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, not sure what that means, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. Expect more of this language in his incoming executive orders, his Western chauvinism coming out, his sexism, as you see with Ilhan Omar coming out, his Islamophobia coming out, his xenophobia coming out, his anti-immigrant policies rearing its head, and we're going to see executive orders that will back this rant up. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. That's a farce. That's not how the immigration services work. And by the way, presidents have been using the auto pen as long as the auto pen has existed. Long before Biden did, long before Donald Trump does, and he did in the previous administration, and before his administration, several of the other administrations also used auto pens. So this auto pen nonsense is just a discounting factor that keeps denigrating what Joe Biden did and what Joe Biden has done for the country. Only reverse migration can fully cure this situation. It's echoes of Japanese expatriation and Chinese exclusion. It reeks of kicking out South Asian Americans and blocking them from coming in until the 70s. It reeks of any type of discrimination when people came in as migrants. But this particular rant of Donald Trump is encompassing all immigrants, all non-white immigrants. So there's a racial aspect to it for sure. There's a xenophobic aspect to it. There's an anti-Muslim aspect to it. And then he goes on to say, other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all, except those who hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for, which is Donald Trump. Donald Trump does that, likely realizes he's saying the same thing and says, you won't be here for long. Well, let's hope Donald Trump is projecting here, because we don't want Donald Trump in the Oval Office for very long either. Our democracy and our ideology and our traditions of being an immigrant nation where a majority, vast majority of Americans are not criminals, and they are doing their utmost to feed into the American system and grow their American dream in their little or big ways. But here we have Donald Trump attacking the entire immigrant community on Thanksgiving Day. A more inappropriate day couldn't be had. And he's setting the agenda for his next set of executive orders and memos that will go out and fully implement his police state because of this one incident that has happened with the National Guard and with the Afghan asylum seeker. With that said, stay alert, know your rights, defend others. You know your neighbors, they're not criminals. If they are non-white, they will be targeted. Stand up for them and do everything you can to not let this hatred become what America is all about. Take care, everybody.